hunting the paranormal with metal in their veins, no fear in their hearts as they break the chains of the supernatural. They will not rest until they face the demons, put them to the test.
What is up, everybody? It is Sunday. It is 8 p.m. Civic Standard Time. You know where your cryptids are? Because, well, they're running short, and the gremlins are killing us.
They're definitely running wild tonight.
So we're gonna stumble through this like we always do. A little bit of computer problems at the end, so we're back using my phone. The guy, we don't have a lot of issues. We are discussing the old Montana prison. Our old number one fan is here. Just to
and do we have
watch
our...
it.
Doing what now?
Tammy's here to watch us stumble through.
We missed you last week, Tammy.
Alright, so it's not an Unleashed podcast without a little bit of issues here and there.
Right.
Alright, so we are discussing the old Montana prison. We were supposed to have somebody that had been there, but apparently, as always, plans seem to change. By the way, just roll with it. So you're going to watch us kind of stumble through this. All right. So we are discussing the Montana State Prison. I don't have that banner up because the computer took a crap and I'm on the phone and it's two different. Yeah. So just pretend that it says Old Montana Prison, Old Montana Jail flashing across the bottom here. We'll just pretend it's there. All right, so the Montana State Prison ran from 1870 until 1979 when the last prisoners were moved to the new facility west of town. This is over in Deer Lodge, I believe it is. Yep.
Yeah.
The most well-known incident at the old Deer Lodge prison, which was awesome what it's called, which made international news, was the 1959 riots. During these riots, inmates held the prison for nearly 36 hours, locked guards in the hole, murdered the deputy warden, and held the warden hostage, demanding better conditions before the National Guard was called in, and the incident ended with the murder-suicide of Lee Smart and Jerry Miles, those who organized riots in the northwest tower of the penitentiary. Now, if this is the same prison I'm thinking about, the National Guard actually used a rocket launcher and took out the warden's office, or a chunk of the warden's office, which led to them quickly wanting to just get out and be done with it. I'm reading an article from Southwest Montana entitled, "We Spent a Night in Montana's Haunted Prison." This person goes on to say, when it comes to ghosts and a belief in the paranormal, I would describe myself as an open-minded skeptic. But while I've never had a paranormal experience myself, I've known plenty of people to describe their encounters that verge on the unexplainable. I enjoy the occasional ghost hunt and love the history that backs the claims of paranormal encounters across southwest Montana. With Halloween just around the corner, I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to explore what might be considered the most haunted location in southwest Montana, the old Montana prison. So this person signed up for a ghost hunt with the Chicago-based company Ghost Hunts USA. The event was to take place from 8:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. And I'll be the first to admit that I couldn't imagine what was possibly hold my interest for 9 hours, and even suggested that leaving partway through the evening might be for the best. This person doesn't know what the cool thing is. We're going to lock you in a haunted jail until 5 a.m. But I don't know. I might get bored and want to go home.
No, not at all.
I can't speak for James, but if we ever get an opportunity to get locked into a building and just given the keys and say, here, go. Oh my God, James, what are we going to do? It's only 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm bored. Oh, no.
Hello.
You locked us in an old jail. Let's go wrong. Let's go
Well,
nuts.
Yeah, I'd say let's go nuts. I mean, I know last week I'd say forget that idea, but yeah, you don't get these opportunities that often. So yeah, let's run wild.
Go nuts. Anyway, so she continues on. I think it's a she. I didn't see who the author was. How wrong I was, because hey, it's chaos tonight because everything is just chaotic and we're trying to get through. How wrong I was. We spent 4 hours with the group and another 5 hours of personal time exploring within the walls of the old prison. We spent time exploring the admin building, the general population cell blocks, the library, the death tower, the chapel, various isolation cells, and of course, maximum security. During the, let me see, this is just one account with scars because they were talking about the riot on the prison. And for a well-known story of Miles and Smart, there are hundreds of other stories from the inmates of the old prison. While many served their sentences and moved on, some in life and some in death, others are said to have never left the prison, at the very least that is undeniable energy within the prison walls. During our ghost hunt, we experimented with trigger devices, recorders, and more while we asked spirits to make their presence known. We began with a vigil in front of the general population cells and have participated in 3 different rotations at maximum security, the chapel, and the admin building. It wasn't until we were exploring the prison alone that I truly felt an unexplained presence. The first such experience took place in the prison yard in a canteen. We entered the area, placed a simple cat toy on the ground between us, and turned on a highly sensitive microphone. While I would hear nothing, someone mentioned hearing footsteps entering the room. We were, of course, alone, and no one joined us. While the cat toy remained unmoved up to this point, even with a couple strong gusts of wind, we asked spirits to make the toy light up. If they were there, and promptly, without question, the ball lit up. Ooh. As the flickering stopped, we proceeded saying that if they want to communicate, to again move the toy and make it light up. Again, the toy flashed on. We are going to ask you some questions. Light up the toy if you understand. Instant lights. The answer to the question is yes, please light up the ball. Does this make sense? Again, the ball lit up. We carried on a conversation and eventually asked, do you like visitors at the prison? Yes. The ball lit up. Do you want us to stay? Nothing. Would you prefer if we left? Yes, the ball lit up. We quietly thanked the spirit for the time and exited back to the prison guard. Because, hey, you gotta cranky prisoner. You don't want to piss them off.
Right.
Having been on edge all night, a sense of calm washed over me following this experience, as if reassured that the spirits themselves enjoyed our company. While the spirits may have caught my attention, it is the history that held it. Following our experience, I read about the riots, learned about the construction of the prison, and even dove right into Ellen Balmer's book, Dark Spaces. I don't know what that is. Whether or not I believe in the presence of spirits, the history of the prison is sure to pique your interest. Apparently there's like 9 different museums inside the walls. There's like a car museum and a bunch of other stuff. So they're kind of using the space for different things. If I can figure out yeah, I can always get directions to the place.
Ooh.
Alright, so tour. So if you wanted to go to Deer Lodge and you wanted to take a tour, there's guided, there's self-guided, there's the ghost tours, historical dusk tours, school tours, interactive lockdown. Hell yeah, there we go, James.
Oh, yes.
Interactive lockdown. Yes, lock us down. Let's read more about that, shall we?
Yes, shall we?
Oh, they're all sold out for 2025.
Oh, no way.
The old Montana decided to bring back a special type of old prison tour. Visitors will have the opportunity to experience what it was like to be sentenced and imprisoned back in the early 1900s. After your sentencing, you will receive your prison garments. You will be booked in and you will be photographed. Prison garments and booking photo are yours to keep. Dinner will be served at chow time and a ghost tour will be on the agenda. You will also have the opportunity to investigate on your own during yard time and mingle with the permanent residents of Old Montana State Prison. After the tour, you will be escorted to your cells for the lockdown, during which anything can happen. Other mementos of your incarceration will be given to you to take home, as well as a light breakfast to be served in the morning.
Holy shit. So during that lockdown, you'd be locked in your cell by yourself?
I don't think they would actually like lock down like the cell, but it would just be we're going to put you in a cell and you're going to sleep here all night. It's $175 per person.
Oh, no, not too bad.
I'm about that. That would be kind of cool. Lock my ass in prison.
Right.
That would be a trigger object, because if you're getting the clothes, everything else, and treated like a prisoner,
Exactly.
now you're the trigger object. Unfortunately, they're all booked up for the year.
Oh, yeah. Damn it. I guess we'll have to look for next year.
Book that up and go over there early.
Hey, we can
Go
skip
early,
the
go
ghost
up.
conference.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Skip the ghost conference, go to Montana. All right, so then we have the 2025 ghost stories. There's kind of just on a page, so we're kind of like all over the page here. We're trying to find ghost stories, and we're figuring about talking about this one because, again, the person who has been there and was going to be our guest to give us an insider
Insight. Overview.
Yeah. She had other things, and we already kind of said we were doing Montana jail. So our two people watching, our fans at home, listening around the country or around the state, bear with us. We'll make it a decent one.
Amidst the
All
chaos.
right. It's all chaos. All right, so the ghost tours. You get into the old Montana prison from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Special entry into locations not open to the general public. The Death Tower, which is the one where they use the rocket launcher to shoot the warden's office to get them to
Check out the warden. Yeah.
Yeah, the upper tier cells, etc. Paranormal investigation equipment provided. Snacks, chips, cookies, granola bars, candy, refreshments, water, coffee, tea, hot chocolate. So we have one Friday the 25th. I'm just going to punch on that one just to get some prices. Does everything work here? Come on. Tickets for that one. Yeah, it's only till 2 a.m. Oh, this ain't bad. $99 to take the tour until 2 a.m. And it's 15 and above. You can bring your own equipment if you like. You will be able to investigate the grounds of the building and the prison until 2 a.m. when the investigation concludes. So $99 for a decent tour ain't bad.
No, definitely not.
Let's see if they give hey, we're just going to give you the damn keys. I want the 5 a.m. run. Of course, I think that one might be the getting locked up in jail scenario.
Right, yeah. Ooh.
So what they have here, since we're still on the page and trying to fill time, we're both working on trying to find ghost stories and stuff.
Right.
Because again, it's not her fault. It's not her fault.
Nope.
So we don't blame her. Real life comes up. We just roll with it. So it's the old Montana prison, opened on July 2nd, 1871. First opened as a territorial prison, becoming a state prison in 1889. Hundreds of thousands of prisoners called the inside of these granite, brick, and sandstone walls home. Then they have a Montana auto collection, so you got your classic cars. Then you got Frontier, Frontier, Montana, housed in the old Montana prison mule barn. These slaves showcase items that are used by the American cowboy, rancher, frontiersmen, and women during the opening of the American West. These are the real items used during the period from 1829 to 1900, not props. Ooh, that would be cool. Then there's like a Yesterday's Playthings museum, old toys dating back to 1835. Howell County Museum talks about Deer Lodge Valley. So it's kind of everything that was going on there. Wood carvings, local history, breathtaking antique furniture, mining display. They'll take you back from the time of the days of hard labor and sweat, is what you'll find in Powell County. There's a railroad cars out front. Currently, Montana Law Enforcement Memorial. Cottonwood City, I don't know. That is Prison Cow Ice Cream Shop. Yeah, you had me at Ice Cream Shop.
Yes, definitely. What the heck? Yeah.
Trying to find more on that riot. Admission to the museum is only $18. Children 6 and under are free.
Dang.
A little bit of dead air there, so while you're looking, I'll just yammer.
It's crazy. Nothing. God dang.
Hit me because I'm still looking for this riot information.
Oh. What on the riot were you looking for?
Anything on the riot, really. I know Ghost Adventures were there once upon a time to do a show. That's on any streaming network, really.
Yeah, let's see what we have here for the riots. 59 riot?
Yep.
Let me see. I thought I saw something on that. The life of riots.
Well, you're looking it up. We know it was a territorial prison.
So the riot started on April 16th, 1959, and was the longest, bloodiest riot of the facility, instigated by a pair of inmates, Jerry Miles and Lee Smart. The riot would claim the lives of 3 people, wounded several others, and maintained the facility under inmate control for 36 hours.
Ooh.
It ended in the early hours of April 18th of 1959 when a race of National Guard troops stormed the facility. Then in August of the same year, an earthquake structurally damaged Cell Block 2, leading to its destruction. Yeah.
So apparently there was a second riot on January 27, 1958. Warden Burrell, having ignored Anderson's 8-point program from the first riot, during a tour of the prison, the Montana Council of Corrections, the inmates had instigated a 24-hour sit-down strike in which they refused to report to work, ignored orders from guards, and loitered about the cell and house corridors. Warden Burrell ordered the lights and the heat to be turned off, which in January meant many hours of frigid darkness. The cold, hungry inmates returned to the cells and for punishment for a week were refused mail and access to the canteen where they could not purchase cigarettes, candy, and sundries. That was in... Okay, so there were 2 riots back in the 50s.
Yeah.
So there was the Pea Riot on July 30th, 1957, when the members of the prison band refused to pick peas in the garden, which was the prison yard. The temperature was hot, and the band members were used to being left alone, if not coddled, by the prison staff. One member flatly refused the order, which won him time in the hole. The other members decided to work. But after one member flicked a pea at another, the job quickly turned into a fully destroying free-for-all. The destructive attitude in the garden quickly infected the rest of the prison, and inmates rushed from the cell blocks to take part in the destruction. The guards on duty were quickly overrun and locked in cells. A standoff between prisoners, government officials, including Attorney General Forrest Anderson, about 200 National Guardsmen, lasted 24 hours. So here's another one earlier in time. The warden, Fay O'Burrell, was out of town taking delivery of an inmate from Indiana who had escaped years earlier. The prisoners clamored for better conditions, better food, better mail service, and the firing of Benjamin W. Wright, the man in charge of Montana's relatively new parole system. Anderson offered an 8-point program which stated the prisoners, and they retreated to their cells without bloodshed. Upon Burrell's return, however, he revoked the program drawn up by Anderson, claiming that he had not and would not negotiate with convicts. Then there was the second one on January 27th, where they were doing a sit-in, and, hey, we don't want to do this. And they were like, fine, it's a big stone building in Montana in the wintertime. You got no heat and you got no lights. That would push people. And then you had the 59 riot.
Yeah.
For 36 hours. And we talked about that the National Guard had to storm the facility. And then the earthquake. And of course, we got Jerry Miles and Lee Smart.
Right.
So Jerry Miles was primary leader of the big bloody riot. Jerry Miles was born in Sioux City, Iowa on January 15th, 1915, under the name Donald Grote. His mother was an unmarried transient who quickly put her son up for adoption. By the time he was 16, he was in reform school, and for the rest of his life, he would spend more time inside correctional facilities than outside them. He described as having an emotionally unstable psychopathic personality by psychiatrist Romy Ritchie at Alcatraz. Jerry Miles nonetheless had a genius intellect, scoring 125 and 147 on intelligence tests in Atlanta and Montana, respectively. Using suicide attempts, petty disturbances, sexual deviancy, he strove to become the center of attention. He was an institutionalized prisoner, often committing small acts of burglary to get sentenced to more prison time whenever he found himself free, and once incarcerated, struggled to be noticed. September 4th, 1944, he organized a mutiny at the Federal Penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia, on the grounds of poor medical care, no church services, and having to wait in line in the mess hall with the German intake and the black intake. After the mutiny, the administrator at USP Atlanta declared Jerry Miles to be incorrigible and a danger to the security of the prison. They determined their facilities were insufficient to fully monitor Miles' activities, so on May 8, 1945, they transferred him to the Federal Penitentiary at Alcatraz. So Jerry spent 7 years at Alcatraz between 1945 and 1952, after which he was transferred to Leavenworth. While Jerry was at the Rock, the legendary Battle of Alcatraz occurred on May 2nd, 1946, and Miles, while he did not take part in the escape attempt, learned much from the methods of Bernard Coy, who initiated the riot. So he's already got some, he's learning from the best on how to start a riot and make things hard for everybody.
Right?
So the disturbance Miles would later start in Montana shared many elements of the Battle of Alcatraz. Miles was released from Leavenworth on March 3rd, 1952, after which he finished his sentence at the Georgia State Penitentiary and was released on May 1958. During his long prison tenure, Miles had learned of a prison in Montana where the convicts ran the industries, and Miles was interested in what he viewed as the place that he could have power. After his release, Miles bought a bus ticket to Butte, about 40 miles from Deer Lodge, where he was arrested for burglary. He was sentenced to 5 years in Montana State Prison and arrived in Deer Lodge in June of 1958. Since the prison at that time was not in the habit of running background checks on incoming prisoners, his previous penal experience went unnoticed, and he was assigned to a cell in the general population. Miles quickly rose to the position of con boss of the garment shop due to experience in similar places of other penitentiaries around the country and the notoriety of his experience in USB Atlanta, Leavenworth, and of course, Alcatraz. He used the position to his advantage, decorating his department-like cell in the garment shop with niceties and manipulating young inmates into providing him with favors to work in a factory. When Warden Carl abolished the con boss system in October 1958, Miles was stripped of his favor in the prison community and started acting out, which earned him time in segregation. He had a short, heated interview with Deputy Warden Roth, in which Miles took an intense dislike to Roth and threatened his life. Roth sentenced Miles to isolation for the whole for an indefinite amount of time following a longer stint in segregation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're putting somebody in isolation, putting them in the hole, which we know doesn't work. It doesn't help matters. On February 27th, Roth released Myers back in the general population and assigned him to the water crew, a group of inmates who emptied toilet buckets from cell block 2 in the guardhouse. In April that same year, Miles would incite the riot.
Yeah.
So, Jerry Miles knew that timing would play a major factor in the successive initiation of the riot. Between the time he was released back in the Gen Pop in February 1958 until he decided to start the riot, he paid close attention to the movements of the guards and found a loophole in their routine. Each day during the dinnertime turnover, the ratio of guards to inmates was decreased in cell block 1. His plan was to seize a rifle from one of the guards who walked the catwalk outside the cell when the guard was alone. The catwalk was close to the tier's cells. Guards routinely moved between the catwalk and the tiers by a little more than hopping from one to the other, since neither walkway was caged. The maneuver was simple. Miles needed to recruit other inmates to his cause, but limit the number of prisoners who needed specifics to ensure the administration would be caught unaware. He chose to let Lee Smart in on the plan, coaxing the boy along with the promise of freedom and adventure. George Alton, a shrewd, intelligent man, was less easily convinced through a workable escape plan tracked him. Miles needed Alton because of his rapport with the inmate population. Alton also worked in the prison garage and had access to gasoline, a crucial part of Miles' plan. Miles assured Alton they would use Deputy Warden Roth as a shield and hostage to gain exit from Tower 7 and from their freedom. Miles also strong-armed Harold Leroy, known lockpicker or gopher man in prison lingo, to being ready for an escape attempt, but gave him few specifics. So at 3:30 p.m. on April 16th, 1959, guard Gus Bayers was alone on the catwalk of cell block 1, across from where Miles and Smart were loitering. Byers turned to open a window to the brisk spring wind, and when he heard someone call his name, he turned into a splash of gasoline, which hit him in the face and chest, soaking his shirt. Lee Smart had tossed the gasoline at Jerry Miles as Jerry Miles lit a match to a torch he had constructed from a mop. He thrust the mop at the guard, who froze in fear. Smart and Alton lit a broom and tossed it on the catwalk behind Bayers, who, with his vision blurred by gasoline, saw he was surrounded by fire. He quickly surrendered his keys and rifle and allowed himself to be led to the hole. Wow. And we just getting started.
Right.
All right, while Miles, Smart, and Anton were securing the rifle and keys, other inmates ambushed the only two guards in cell block 1, threatening them with knives. The guards surrendered their keys and were also led to the hole. At this point, the inmates were in full possession of 3 guards, a rifle, and keys to the facility, though they still had no ammunition for the weapon. They quickly moved over to cell block 2, where they knew the ammunition was stored, and were in possession of that building within minutes. Even after a tense standoff between a guard holding a loaded rifle and an inmate with a knife. The guard hesitated, received a slashed hand in return. Had he fired on the inmate, the riot may not have progressed. As it was, the inmates were now in control of 2 rifles, 17 rounds of ammunition, and both cell blocks. Over the course of the next 10 to 15 minutes, several more guards would walk into cell block 1, be immediately and quietly overwhelmed and led into the hole. By 4 p.m., Miles, Smart, and Alton had control of the whole facility except for minimum security housing outside the southern wall and the upper floor of the administrative building called Inside Administration. This portion of the facility housed offices for the warden, the deputy warden, sociologists, and other prison infrastructure. The only woman working within the prison walls, Dave Lightfoot, held an office in Inside Administration. But by the time the rioters reached this area of the prison, she had already evacuated upon orders from the inmate. Tan Roth, who had been across the street attending a meeting with Warden Powell and some architects who were designing a new facility Powell wanted to build. Roth returned to his desk inside the prison after a few minutes before 4, oblivious to the inmate takeover. So the warden doesn't even know what's going on. He's gone over, he's done a meeting, he's come back to his office, it's after lunch, he's unaware. What's going on?
Right, and yeah.
To this point, there had been almost no noise, few scuffles, and no casualties. He got it with a guard for a few minutes before sitting behind his desk, which is still on display in the prison, which was in view of the door where inmates came in to receive their medication. Miles, Smart, and a third inmate named Toms came up to the door where Miles asked to receive some pills for his headaches. The guard on duty, Officer Cox, turned to retrieve them as another guard opened the door to let a third guard out. As soon as the door opened, Miles rushed through, brandishing a meat cleaver he had acquired from the kitchen. Tom threatened the other guards with a knife, and they allowed themselves to be herded into a nearby lavatory. Miles burst in the deputy warden Roth's office and attacked Roth with a cleaver. Roth deflected the blow with a plywood letterbox. The struggle continued for a few seconds. Cox grabbed a chair and raised it to hit Miles, but Lee Smart unveiled the rifle he had wrapped in a cone of leather and fired once, hitting Roth in the chest, killing him instantly. Miles turned on Cox and slashed with a cleaver, slicing Cox along his arm. The inmates quickly herded the guards in the lavatory, along with the civilian mail sorter, and locked them in. Another guard, Officer Simonson, was coming up the steps to Inside Administration, and Miles and Smart took him hostage and had him call the warden. After a little after 4, Officer Simonson phoned Warden Powell, who was across the street at his residence. Simonson told the warden there was a disturbance out of the prison and someone had been knifed. Under duress from Miles and Smart, the officer told the warden little else, and Powell rushed through Tower 7 along with 2 guards to see what the disturbance was. As soon as he entered Inside Administration, he was yanked through the doorway. His escort realized something was wrong and retreated, escaping back through Tower 7. The guards on top of this tower knew something was wrong and they tried to warn the warden. The blustery spring wind had obliterated their words. Inside, Warden Powell came face to face with Miles and Smart, who immediately forced Powell to call Governor Arrington and Helena. Aronson, however, was out of town and would not return until about 6:30 that evening. Powell left a message with the governor's secretary to have Aronson call Powell at number 8 as soon as he returned. Number 8 was a prearranged warning that told the governor that Warden Powell had been compromised and that Aronson should not return the call. Well, that just makes things tough. While Miles and Smart coerced guards and wardens to make telephone calls, Alton, armed with the second rifle, set about securing the remaining guards, administrators of the facility. By 4:30, he had locked 20 men in this hole, including sociologist Walter Jones. At a few minutes before 5, Miles Smart led Warden Powell and the other 4 hostages down to the mess hall. From there, led the hostages in the cells in cell block 1. Warden Powell sat under guard on one of the mess halls as he was offered coffee and cake by an inmate. He accepted and he ate while the rest of the hostages were led from the hole and placed in cells in Cook's Row, where the kitchen workers were held. About 6:20, the inmates led Powell back into the administrator to wait for Governor Aronson's call, which never came. Miles and Smart became anxious and left, leaving Powell in the care of Walter Ochi, who had orders to kill the warden with a kitchen knife at 8 if the governor didn't call. 8 came and went. Instead of killing Powell, Ochi surrendered his weapon and freed the warden, who offered amnesty to any prisoner who wanted to retreat to minimum security. 6 inmates agreed to go, including Ochi and Warden Powell, escaped the prison, secured the inmates who had come with them, and began managing the handling of the riot from outside. Miles was angry when he discovered that Powell had escaped, but his rage was abated when he realized they had Walter Jones as a hostage. Miles viewed Jones as one of the reasons he had been ousted as a con boss. Jones managed to talk Miles out of murdering him by offering himself as a negotiator for the demands of the inmates. A lot of stuff goes on, and we're just going to skip a little bit ahead because we got to get to the good stuff. Basically, it's just these prisoners did this, and these guys did this, and the guards did this, and the warden's outside hiding like a coward. I take that back. He did the right thing. He got out there. He defused a little bit of the situation, but Miles is a nutshell. Alton approached Miles with the argument that since Deputy Warden Roth had been shot and killed, their escape plan was now null. Miles acknowledged that the original plan had failed, so we forwarded the idea of tunneling under the walls. We chose a place in the northwestern tower, cell block 1, and put a team of inmates, eventually including the kitchen staff, to work with picks and shovels. Progress on the tunnel would continue for the remainder of the riot, but was doomed to fail. Warden Conley had built the cell blocks and the walls specifically to keep inmates from tunneling, and his designs proved effective. Outside the walls, Warden Powell was busy trying to deal with the budding public reaction to the riot. The word had leaked quickly, and wives of guards who were hustled started showing up at his house. Powell decided to again enter the prison through the tunnel system, which gave access to gun ports in the mess hall and the catwalks to the cell blocks. Luckily, the riot leaders had been unable to secure a key to the access points to this tunnel system, or else Powell may have been taken hostage again. Just after sundown, Powell made his way through the tunnels to the mess hall and shouted for Miles and Smart. Miles showed up, leaving Jones with a knife to his throat. That's what Miles wanted, received a verbal tirade from Miles, who stalked away, leaving Jones with Alton. Powell was told that Miles wanted at least 30 members of the press to come inside the prison, take pictures of the conditions, and speak with the inmates. Powell offered to get 3 reporters inside the wall under the understanding they would not print a word of what they learned until the hostages were released. Alton agreed to the plan. Powell returned to his residence to wait the coming day. Meanwhile, National Guard force was consolidating at Trask Hall, a gymnasium at Montana's first college campus, just 4 blocks from the prison. Members of the press were converging upon the warden's residence, and the city and county switchboards were becoming overwhelmed with calls regarding the riot. After midnight, Miles summoned Jones to talk to the media. Through Jones, Miles warned that any offensive action against the prison would end up in the killing of hostages by fire, hanging, and stabbing. Miles then spoke up, telling the mass media that he was fighting for better conditions and just wanted to be heard. He again threatened the hostages with death if any action was taken up against the prison, and paraded Jones in front of the windows with a knife to his throat to make the point. Afterwards, Miles led Jones back to his cell. At mid-morning on Friday, Miles and Smart allowed Jones to exit the prison walls to escort the 3 reporters. Miles allowed Jones 8 minutes to return with the media before he threatened to begin killing hostages. Jones met with the warden and the reporters outside Tower 7 and managed to get reporters inside the mess hall inside his 8-minute window. Only 7 inmates met with reporters, one of which was George Alton, but neither Jerry Miles or Lee Smart took part in the interview. Sure, they did a bunch of interviews, and there was now we're 24 hours in. We do have a quote from Governor Aronson, I am standing firm in my original statement that I had no intention to go to Deer Lodge or talk to any of the rebellious convicts until order has been restored, all hostages released unharmed, and convicts back in their cells. 36 hours after Miles, Smart, and Alton pitched gasoline at a guard to start the riot, the Montana National Guard ended the riot. At 4:45 a.m. on April 18th, 1959, Bill Rose of the National Guard fired a World War II bazooka at the southwest. A bazooka.
A bazooka.
At the southwest tower of Cell Block 1, while Highway Patrolman Bob Zaracco fired a Thompson submachine gun through a window, which had been identified as where Miles and Smart were hiding on northeast tower of Cell Block 1. The media had been placed under watch to ensure they did not leak news of the attack to the inmates who were listening on the radio inside the prison. While Rose and Tarkon rained ordnance on Cell Block 1, a contingent of seven teams of National Guard waited outside the door to the women's prison on the western wall of the prison. As soon as the first bazooka round hit Cell Block 1, they burst through the door, split up, some rushing the main entrance to Cell Block 1, other goes to Cell Block 2, and more circling around the storm inside administration. The team that invaded Cell Block 1 had to burst through 2 barricaded doors before gaining access to the purest cells. Most of the inmates were already in the cells and did not give the guardsmen any problems. If a bazooka is being fired at the prison, I think I'm done.
Right?
I think I'm done.
Right.
Hey, James, was that a bazooka? I think I'm going back to my cell. I'm okay. I'm good.
Yeah, it's time to, call it a day.
Hey, who brings the bazooka? Think about it. That would happen in today's day and age. Somebody bringing a damn rocket launcher to a riot. I think we're done. We're done. We're done. Guys, we're done. We're done. It's over. Back in Cell Block 1, a team of guardsmen entered the tower where Miles and Smarts were hiding. Soldiers had to push past a pile of rubble, which had been removed from the unsuccessful tunneling attempts. As they made their way up the stairs during their ascent, Jerry Miles managed to shoot Lieutenant Francis Russ Pullman in the arm, who was removed and remanded to the hospital at Fort Harrison, Helen. Just after Pullman was shot, a third bazooka round exploded against the turret, followed by tear gas canisters fired from the wall. Moments after the gas began to take effect, Miles and Smart fully entered the riot with a murder-suicide. So yeah, 3 bazooka rounds.
Damn.
Rounds.
Not 1, not 2, but fucking 3. Shit. Yeah. Oh my god. No, that's okay. Put me on the other side of the damn prison, please.
All right, so
I'll
afterwards, after we're all done and we fired off multiple bazooka rounds, apparently some of that damage from the bazooka in Tower 1, Cell Block 1 in the tower, it's still there. You can still see where the bazooka blew up the wall.
Serious?
Serious.
All right.
Yeah, bazooka damage to Cell Block 1, a bunch of the bricks and stuff were all missing. They never replaced it. Aftermath. In an interview for Time magazine, which ran just after the riot, Warden Floyd Powell said things are going to get a lot tougher around here. As soon as official control returned to the prison guards, National Guard, soldiers locked all 438 inmates inside their cells and began a systematic search of the facility. Tier by tier, the guards removed the prisoners from the cells, had them stripped down, stand in the prison yard, while National Guardsmen removed all personal effects from the cells. Of course, there was cavity searches, and many, including George Alton, had the dead bodies of Miles and Smart paraded in front of them before the cadavers were surrendered to the coroner. So not only did he just bring you outside in the Montana air, strip search you, cavity search you, but hey, here's the guys who started it. Look at this, everybody. Do you see their dead bodies? Okay, now we're going to take them away. Alright.
Wow.
In their search of the cell houses, the guards found 382 knives and had to haul away other contraband to the city dump in several 2.5-ton truckloads.
If you have that much contraband in a goddamn prison, then obviously the warden wasn't doing his job in the first place.
You discuss things. I'll be right back.
Oh, he's on the run. Okay. Warden Powell decided that severe segregation for the remaining instigators of the riot was in order, so he moved the women prisoners out of their building and into the housings across the street. They would eventually end up in the Montana Women's Prison in Billings, Montana. He converted the small building into a maximum security facility which had 24-hour security and disciplinary cells. George Alton spent 2 years in one of those cells. I wouldn't want to spend 2 years in a disciplinary cell myself, but okay. Which at the time did not have plumbing. Inmates were provided a honey bucket, and it was common practice for inmates to slosh the contents. Oh, yeah. So you can have a bucket to do your business in and splash it around. So they would slosh the contents of the waste bucket at passing guards, which led to the installation of screens or wooden doors outside the bars. 2 cells were installed with an angled bar along one wall to which an inmate would be hand and ankle cuffed to prevent him from suicide attempts, and 2 more were converted into black box cells, much like the hole had been. In years that followed the riot, Floyd Powell strove to provide the state of Montana with a new facility. The riot had raised awareness of the need for reform, but a $5 million bond issue put the citizens of the state failed by a resounding 70%. A large earthquake damaged Cell Block 2 on August 17, 1959, and the antiquated building was condemned. Its destruction kept inmates busy for a few weeks, but led to severe overcrowding in Cell Block 1. 1961, Governor Nutter curtailed the construction of new state buildings, and the state government cut funding to the prison in the amount of $500,000. Warden Floyd Powell resigned in February 1962, a distraught and frustrated man. Well, I'd be distraught and frustrated if you didn't get what you wanted, but then again, you weren't a very good warden, I'd say. Right?
Exactly. Sorry, everybody. I had to pull a roast out of the oven.
Oh, is that what
I
you're
had a
doing?
little bit more time, yeah.
Ah, yeah. So, yeah.
So, I mean, out of, like I said, Zach and the gang, hashtag not Zach Baggins,
Right.
had been to Montana State Prison to do a case. They had actually had, there were 2 hangings. Well, if you want to call them hangings. So
2.
apparently Miles still haunts the place. Lee Smart currently still haunts the place. And then you got the deputy warden who's still in his office. And like I said, his office is still there. The desk and everything, his secretary's desk, all that's still there inside, that, which would be interesting to go in and check out.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
So in 1975, there was a fire in the theater. It was arson. Nobody died in that one. We had What are new guys? What the older dudes?
Yeah, it looked like the fire was going for 2.5 hours before a guard noticed it. How can a fire go 2.5 hours and no one not notice it? And in a prison, for crying out loud. Of all places.
So yeah, the place has just been kind of just worked around a bit. Try to find that one. There was two executions on June 1908 and April 2nd, 1909. So we go even further past.
Wow.
We've got two men, Rock and Hayes. The men were unalived using the upright jerker method, which uses a 300-pound weight to jerk the sentenced man from his feet. So instead of falling down, these guys are going up. Both ways did not unalive them on the first go. It was a bad mamma jamma. So some of the ghosts that they say are there are the rioters. Apparently, you've still got Rock that's there. You've got Hayes that still haunts the place. You got the deputy that's still at his desk. So, I mean, haunted-wise, you've still got a lot of spirits that are kind of hanging out.
Right.
From these ghost tours and everything else that you got going on. I mean, it definitely does sound like there's a lot still going on in the old Montana jail than we know of. The fact
That's kind of like any old prison from back in the day, really. I mean, it's got to have some sort of activity.
But I think, I do believe we need to go to Deer Lodge, Montana sometime and do the inmate tour.
Yes.
I mean, just a normal ghost tour isn't going to be cool enough. I think we need to become the trigger objects, get locked up, spend the night, get that light breakfast.
What do you think the question would be? Do you think the wives would enjoy it?
They can go to the bar.
There you go.
All right, so we're probably going to run down a little bit. I mean, I don't really know if we're going to do a skeptic's corner.
No.
Really.
I mean, this
Old
is all
Montana
false.
jail. I mean, a lot of history, a lot of bloody history. 3 bazooka rounds.
Dude.
That's going to be one of those. Yeah. Hey, everybody, let's riot. Boom. Was that a bazooka? Boom. Oh my God. Boom. We're done. We're done. We quit. We're out. I don't want no more. I don't want no smoke.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump out a little early. We're about 5 minutes early, but that's all right. Again, we're in Montana months. I don't know what next month we're going to hit. Not month. Next Sunday, we'll figure that out when we get there. Look for the pages. It'll probably be posted somewhere, but it'll be Montana. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is Doc.
King James.
And hopefully we don't have any more issues. And, of course, it is chaos on Mondays. And
One of these days, we'll get through a show without any chaos.
yeah, well, you know, my roast didn't burn, so.
There you go.
I know, people were home are like, what the hell's a roast got to do with ghosts? It's all in the line of everything. So. Anyway, everybody, thanks for coming. Thanks for attending. Be sure to hug your cryptid, bring them in. It is getting warmer outside. Tammy says chaos is good. Sometimes, and when we're not being driven crazy. But till that point, see you next Sunday.